Taylor Swift fans, football fans, Donald Trump fans, Love Island fans, Kendrick Lamar fans. What do all of these things have in common? They all have people that have an emotional and parasocial investment in their lives. They all have people that follow them and know some of the most intricate details of their lives, despite the fact that they don't even know them personally. But I want to focus solely on football though, and I want to briefly start off by talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold. The former Liverpool and now Real Madrid player has been the subject of intense discussion and discourse over the last 12 months. Was he going to sign a new contract with Liverpool? Was he going to leave on the free? Was he going to go to Real Madrid? Was he going to talk to the fans? All of this speculation about what Trent was going to do next. Now, I do have a dedicated section on Trent later on in this particular episode, but what I did find interesting and fascinating was the sheer level of vitriol and hate that was directed towards him about a decision that he made about his own life. He was booed, he was jeered, he was called a rat, he was called a Judas. His mural in Liverpool was defaced. He was abused on social media, and shirts with his name on the back were being burnt by individuals and by fans that have spent the last 8-9 years singing his name. And because of the way that my mind works, this is just a me thing, in that particular moment, I sat and I thought to myself, how are football fans any different to Taylor Swift fans? Because they are practically the same types of people. At the start of this exact episode, roughly 2 minutes ago, I said these words: they all have people that have an emotional and parasocial investment in their lives. Now, I am a football fan, and I obviously understand how supporting a club and how fandom works, but I do feel like the level of access and familiarity that we now have with athletes deludes us into thinking that we actually know them on a personal level. Like, yes, we love the sport, yes, we love football, but with social media, we also now love the pantomime and the borderline reality TV-esque nature of what football has become. I honestly believe that we have access to way too much information, and we also know way too much about one another, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Sport is one of the greatest inventions of our time. Some of my happiest memories are attached to a sporting occasion. Some of my saddest memories are attached to a sporting occasion. I'm still upset and I'm still sad about the 2006 Champions League final because we were robbed. We were robbed. Nearly 20 years later, I still feel it. I cried like a baby. It lives with me. Don't worry, this year I'll get back. Arsenal winning the Champions League. That's besides the point. The line between fan, consumer and spectator has been significantly blurred, and today I want to talk about it. So on today's episode of Small Talk, I'm talking about parasocial relationships, but I'm also talking about how we know footballers, but we don't actually know footballers. Yo, what's going on? My name is Ore. I am a presenter, broadcaster, cultural commentator, and all-round creative idiot. And welcome back to another episode of Small Talk. This is where I sit in my bed and dissect the world of news, sport, politics, entertainment, popular culture, fashion, and everything in between, but aim to delve that little bit deeper than beneath the surface. Football has always been about connections. It's always been about storylines, and it's one of the reasons why we love the sport. If there was no emotion at play, it would all be a complete and utter waste of time. There is something in watching a maverick on the pitch and creating a personal bond with them, albeit one directional and non-reciprocal. We live vicariously via the players that we support, and I've spoken about it numerous times online in previous videos, but I love and adore Bukayo Saka, and every single time he puts on an Arsenal shirt and plays for the club, I almost feel as if he is representing me on the pitch. And the guy doesn't know who I am. Actually, no, he might know who I am. Like, let me talk my shit. I'm outside, man. Google me. Do your Googles, man. Yeah, Saka might know who I am. If we are going to talk about Mavericks, I'm going to step away from sport for a very brief second and talk about Michael Jackson, who, in my opinion, is and will always be the greatest musician, the greatest artist, the greatest entertainer to have ever graced this planet that we call Earth. No one will ever come close to him. No one. And it's funny that I say that because I didn't even live through his prime, but I'm still in awe of the man and the talent that he possessed. Because of the bonds that people formed via his music and his stardom, people used to do the craziest shit just to see him. This is outside his hotel room, for goodness sake. Not a concert, not an event. It was outside his hotel room, and thousands, tens of thousands of people were there singing and cheering his name because they loved him that much. I also want to say, I don't think anybody should ever be that famous. That is a level of fame that no human should ever, 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 ever be able to attain. I personally think that since the turn of the millennium, that's when things started to change, and that's when sports stars started to become the most famous faces on the planet. Back in the day, it felt like the music stars and the film stars were the stars of the day, whereas now, with the commercialization and commodification of sport, athletes are now almost the god-level celebrities of the modern day. Ask Canelo Alvarez to walk down the street in Mexico on his own. Ask Lionel Messi to walk down the street in Argentina on his own. Ask Usain Bolt to walk down the street in Jamaica on his own. I can guarantee for all three of those individuals that would be virtually impossible. These athletes are now able to control their own narratives because of social media, when in the past they had to keep the press and the tabloids on their side in order to receive favourable coverage. They had to rely on somebody else, whereas now they only have to rely on themselves because they are the media. They can go direct to their fans, they can go direct to consumers, they can speak directly to their audiences and essentially bypass the middleman. And because of that, we as football fans now have a level of access and familiarity with our favourite athletes, our favourite players, our favourite football clubs in a way that we have never had before. We are now able to create these emotional and parasocial connections and bonds. And this is where my problems arise. The modern football fan isn't just a fan anymore, and clubs and brands have clocked onto this. Football clubs have become full-blown media machines. The media strategy of the most popular clubs and leagues is to offer more and more exclusive content, behind-the-scenes content, training content, interviews, Q&A sessions, content pieces with influencers and other content creators. And it's kind of given us this false sense of involvement, because that emotion and passion that I was talking about earlier in this episode, well, clubs are able to build narratives that pull on those emotional heartstrings that we as fans have. And if fans become more invested, then in turn, those invested fans are going to spend more and more money. Fans are now both fans and consumers simultaneously. The prime example of this is Son Heung-min when he played for Tottenham, because Tottenham massively benefited from having an elite athlete like Son on their team in terms of audience reception in South Korea and in East Asia. And then we add video games into the mix of all of this. FIFA or EAFC or whatever the hell it's called, and Football Manager leans into this illusion of access. You can play professional football without ever having to actually step on the pitch. You can be the manager without ever having to actually be the manager. Unless you're Will Still, who apparently became a manager from playing Football Manager, but he's debunked that story numerous times now. Football has now become a reality TV show. Quite literally, because there is a documentary, there is a show on Prime around the lives of footballers and their wives and girlfriends. And honestly, it's one of the worst things I have ever watched. Genuinely, it is so bad. And we also had the All or Nothing series from a couple of years ago. We had the Man City one, we had the Tottenham one, we had the Arsenal one. They need to bring it back, but they need to bring it back specifically for Manchester United, because that would be elite viewing. I'm ready, I'm sat. The sheer amount of content that is readily available makes it easy for us to dissect the lives of the football players that we love for our own entertainment. further fueling the feeling of familiarity. That is a lot of Fs. And that's another F. All right, really quick one. Thank you very much if you are enjoying the content, if you are enjoying the channel, if you are enjoying the videos. I spend a lot of time writing and researching, and I edit these videos myself. I find all of the stock images and the overlays. I put this all together. I am a one-man band, but I love it. I really do enjoy it. And if you are enjoying the content, I just ask for one simple favor. Can you subscribe? If you can, that would be amazing. Can you like? If you can, that would be amazing. Leave a comment. If you can, that would be amazing. It helps boost this content up the algorithm. It allows other people to see the content that I'm putting out. And I guess it just kind of gives me more motivation to keep going. I really want to build this channel and this space to something bigger than what it already is. You know, I want to upgrade the camera quality, the microphone quality, the setup. I have big dreams and visions, and yeah, your support means so much. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I really would appreciate it. Thank you very much. And back to the video. So earlier on in this episode, I made a comparison between football fans, Trump fans, and Taylor Swift fans. And I stand by that comparison. They are all forms of stan culture, just in different fonts. They all use the same part of their brain to support a cause or to support a person that they believe they have an affiliation with. In football, every aspect is under extreme surveillance. Let's put it like this. Back in the day, as a football fan, as an Arsenal fan, I had no way of ever communicating with Thierry Henry. I could maybe write him a letter, but there's no guarantee that he would have seen it. There's no guarantee he would have written back. Whereas now, I can literally pick up my phone, send Thierry Henry a direct message, and within 3 seconds of that message being sent, he can see it, respond to it, and me and him can have a private A to B conversation. That's mad. I love it though, but it's also mad. Now imagine the players that are actually currently playing. Imagine the amount of messages that they must receive on a day-to-day basis. We have never had this level of access before. However, that parasocial relationship and that new level of connectivity has also built a level of entitlement amongst football fans. And this is perfectly illustrated in the treatment of Trent Alexander-Arnold by Liverpool fans in 2025. Now I know Liverpool fans are not gonna like this part of the video because apparently only Liverpool fans can really understand why Trent leaving is such a massive issue, and if you don't support Liverpool then we're not gonna listen to your opinion. Well, I'm gonna give my opinion anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it. So let me paint the picture. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a boyhood Liverpool fan. He was born in the city and he joined the Liverpool Academy in the year 2004, and he spent 21 years of his life serving the football club that he loves. He was truly one of their own. And I do get it, because there is nothing better than seeing a local player from the city making it to the very top and doing it for the team that he supports. He was the vice captain, and he was obviously going to be captain eventually. And he spoke out about wanting to be captain and wanting to be just like his hero, Steven Gerrard. In the same way that I live vicariously via Bukayo Saka, Liverpool fans would have lived vicariously through Trent Alexander-Arnold, because they would have dreamed to have had the career that he had. In and amongst all of this Trent saga, I think people have actually forgotten that Trent Alexander-Arnold, in my opinion, is one of the best footballers in the world. Like, he sits at the very top table when we are talking about some of the best passers to have ever played the game. So to have seen him leave the club that he supports, the club that you support, especially as a boyhood fan, I understand why that must be frustrating and painful. But the level of hate and vitriol that he has received since A, announcing that he was going to leave, B, learning Spanish, C, actually joining Real Madrid, D, coming back to Liverpool whilst playing for Real Madrid, is a direct result of how entitled and parasocial fans are with players. One of the main points raised by Liverpool fans around this whole saga is, he's a local lad leaving the club on the free. This is the club that he supports. We gave him everything. Another thing that they always say is, he said he wanted to be captain, he wanted to be a legend, and now he's leaving for our rivals Real Madrid. He's a snake. there's a lot to unpack and dissect from that. So I'm going to pick a couple of things. Real Madrid are not your rivals. It is a one-sided beef. Okay, cool. In recent seasons, you've beaten them. But when it's come to finals, they've put the belt to your ass every single time. You've missed out on multiple Champions Leagues because of Real Madrid. You may see them as your rivals, but they don't see you as theirs. They've got 15 Champions Leagues, 15, and you've got 6. It's not a rivalry. And if it is, it's one-sided. Second of all, people are allowed to change their mind. It's his life. He can do what he wants. And he's won everything. He has won absolutely everything for the club. Is it a crime to want to go and experience something different? You do realize that we don't own these players. These players, these individuals, these humans have agency over their own lives. They have their own individual goals and their own individual desires that may not necessarily match the desires that we have as fans. To project onto a player what you think he should do with his life, and when he doesn't do that, you then turn around and abuse him, is peak emotional blackmail. Secondly, football is a very short career. God forbid, he could break his leg tomorrow and that could be the end of his career. Look how many players that have had career-ending injuries or have been on the end of career-ending tackles. There is no guarantee in this sport. In fact, for every Trent Alexander-Arnold, there are probably another 100 young players that were in the exact same age group as Trent in the same Liverpool academy but didn't make it. Trent made it because he was in the 0.001% that actually make it to the very top level as a professional footballer. Liverpool gave him an opportunity, but they gave him the opportunity because he was good. And if he wasn't good, he would have been cut to the wayside like the rest of the people that were in the same age group as him in the academy. The clubs aren't doing him a favour. In fact, he's doing them a favour. Clubs dispose of players that they no longer need all the time. But if we're going to talk about loyalty when it comes to Trent, how about loyalty from the clubs themselves? A really good example of this is Harry Kane, because Harry Kane signed contract extension after contract extension after contract extension after contract extension with Tottenham because of loyalty. The loyalty that we always talk about in football. And you know what? Fair play to him. But what does he have to show for it? Because he didn't win a trophy when he was at Tottenham. Because of those contract extensions, he priced himself out of multiple moves elsewhere and spent the majority of his career trophyless. In fact, the season that he did move, he moved to Bayern Munich in Germany. That is a team that wins a trophy near enough every single year. And guess what happened when Harry Kane joined? In the one season that Bayern Munich did not win a trophy, it's the very first season that Harry Kane played for them. And that's the thing, there are no guarantees in football. You kind of have to be selfish and put yourself first. Thankfully, Bayern Munich still do what Bayern Munich do, and the season after, he got his hands on a trophy at the grand old age of 31. Now, I'm not saying don't be sad and don't be upset. Of course, as a football fan, you are allowed to be upset. But sometimes you have to have, not even sometimes, just have perspective. And I'll say this, and it's easy for me to say this because this isn't the case, but I've mentioned it a million times. I'm an Arsenal fan and I love Bukayo Saka. If Bukayo Saka, at the age of 27, had won 2 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, a couple of FA Cups, a couple of League Cups, a couple of Community Shields, a Club World Cup, and a European Super Cup, and he decided that, you know what, I love Arsenal, but I've achieved everything I've achieved here. I want to go to another country. I want to go to another climate. I want to experience a new culture. I want to go to Spain. I would not begrudge him. I really won't. I genuinely won't. That contract offer may never come round again. And I know Real Madrid are going through a bit of this weird transition phase, but Real Madrid are still Real Madrid. Whether you like it or not, football players see this football club as the biggest club in the world. As much as you would love for him to stay, he is allowed to change his mind and change the direction of his life. Keyword in that sentence, his life. Whether he left on a free or not, or whether he got a transfer fee, the goalpost would have been moved and people would have still been angry at him. To boo him in the way that they did in my opinion, it was nasty. Bearing in mind, he was the one on the pitch. He was the one that gave you all of those memories. He was the one that trained hard and worked hard to make it as a footballer and make something of himself. He also fulfilled his contractual obligations. The fact that you feel that you can tell him what to do when you are merely a spectator is somewhat laughable. It's even ironic because 12 months prior to this whole Trent saga, Liverpool were very close to signing Martin Zubimendi, and there are parallels that can be drawn between Zubimendi and Trent and how they both left their respective clubs. Similar to Trent, Zubimendi is a boyhood Real Sociedad fan, and he joined the academy at a young age and spent over 15 years at the football club. But Liverpool fans, online Liverpool fans, were begging him to leave his boyhood club to join them. So why isn't that same logic that you applied to Zubimendi not applied to Trent? Isn't that hypocritical? And it's because football fans are entitled. It's because football fans have developed parasocial bonds where they feel like their opinion matters more than the opinions of the players themselves. As much as we know these players, we don't actually know these players. Yes, we contribute financially. Yes, we go to the stadium, we buy the merchandise, we support them, but we don't own them. They are individuals and they are humans at the end of the day. And look, it's okay to have idols. It's okay to look up to people, but putting them on this godlike pedestal is you setting yourself up for disappointment. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep banging this drum, but I do feel like we are getting to the point of no return with social media. Parasocial fandom has turned football from a sport into a telenova. Football loses its humanity, its spontaneity, its unpredictability, all because everybody thinks that they are part of the cast. The truth of the matter is, footballers are not your mates. They're not your bros, they're not your friends, they're not your sons. They are professionals doing a job that you love and that you watch for entertainment. And the sooner that football fans stop acting like they're the most important part of the game, the better. We made it to the end of this episode. I don't know if people are going to like this episode. Well, who cares? Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. And while you are here, click here on the screen, it's going to pop up somewhere, to watch the first part of this 2-part mini-series on why I believe why football Twitter is the worst thing to have ever happened to football. It's a good watch. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.